Ever wonder why the price of that new toke you wanted jumped so high all of a sudden? Or why your favorite brand of maple syrup seems to be disappearing from the shelves faster than a Timbit at a hockey game? It might not just be inflation or a bad harvest. There's a whole web of international trade, political maneuvering, and economic strategies at play, and Canada's caught right in the middle. We're talking about the intricate dance between the U.S., China, and Canada, and how decisions made in Washington or Beijing ripple outwards, affecting everything from our grocery bills to the future of our industries. The relationship between these three countries is like a three-legged stool. If one leg wobbles, the whole thing's unstable. For years, the U.S. and China have been locked in a complex economic rivalry, a battle for global dominance that plays out in tariffs, trade deals, and technological advancements. And Canada, well, we're often the bystander, sometimes benefiting, sometimes getting caught in the crossfire. But lately, it feels like the crossfire's getting closer. Think about it. Canada relies heavily on trade with both the U.S. and China. We're intertwined economically, but also politically. We're allies with the U.S., sharing a border and a long history of cooperation. But we also have our own interests, our own relationships to navigate. And China, a rising global power, is a major player in the world economy, offering both opportunities and challenges. Under the Trump administration, things got complicated. The U.S. took a more protectionist stance, imposing tariffs on Chinese goods and pushing for trade deals that favored American interests. This had a direct impact on Canada, forcing us to reconsider our own trade strategies and relationships. Now, with the new administration in the White House, the question is, will these policies continue? Will the U.S. maintain its pressure on China? And how will that affect Canada? We're not just talking about abstract numbers and trade deficits here. We're talking about real jobs, real businesses, and real communities across Canada. From the farmers in the prairies who rely on exporting their crops, to the tech companies in Waterloo competing in the global market, to the families in Atlantic. Canada, who depend on the fishing industry, everyone is impacted by these decisions. This isn't just about politics, it's about livelihoods. So, let's dig in, eh? Let's unravel the complexities of this three-way relationship and explore what the future might hold for Canada. We'll look at the historical context, the current challenges, and the potential pathways forward. Because understanding this dynamic is crucial for understanding not just Canada's place in the world, but also the future of our economy and our society. It's time to put on our thinking toques and figure out what it all means for us here at home. To fully grasp the current situation, we gotta rewind a bit and look at how Canada-China relations evolved in the first place. It's not like we woke up one morning and suddenly found ourselves in this three-way tug-of-war, eh? The story goes way back, long before the days of TikTok and Huawei. Think back to the Trudeau era. Pierre Elliott, that is. He was the one who officially recognized the People's Republic of China back in 1970, a move that was pretty groundbreaking at the time. This opened the door for trade, cultural exchanges, and all sorts of interactions that had been off limits for decades. For years, things were relatively smooth sailing. We sold them wheat, potash, and lumber, and they sold us everything from clothing to electronics. It was a mutually beneficial relationship, or so it seemed. As China's economy boomed, so did our trade relationship. Canadian businesses saw huge opportunities in the Chinese market, and investments flowed in both directions. But like any long-term relationship, there were bumps along the road. Concerns started to bubble up about human rights, intellectual property theft, and unfair trade practices. These issues never really went away, but they were often overshadowed by the allure of economic growth. Then came the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, the CFO of Huawei, in Vancouver in 2018. That's when the maple syrup really hit the fan. This event, triggered by an extradition request from the U.S., sent shockwaves through Canada-China relations. China retaliated by detaining Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, two Canadians who became pawns in a much larger geopolitical game. Suddenly, the cozy relationship we thought we had was exposed as being a lot more fragile than we realized. Consider, if you will, how this affected everyday Canadians. The canola industry, for instance, took a massive hit when China banned imports of Canadian canola, citing concerns about pests. Farmers in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, who relied heavily on the Chinese market, were left scrambling to find new buyers. This wasn't just about economics, it was about livelihoods, about families, about the very fabric of rural communities. Following this, the Trudeau government has tried to balance its relationship with both countries. It's a tricky balancing act, like trying to carry a canoe full of maple syrup across a raging river. On one hand, we need to maintain our alliance with the U.S., our closest trading partner and security ally. On the other hand, we can't afford to completely alienate China, a major economic power with a huge and growing market. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenges of navigating a complex international landscape. It requires diplomacy, strategic thinking, and a willingness to stand up for our values while also protecting our interests. So, where does all this leave us then, eh? We've taken a good look at the lay of the land, seen how things got to be, the way they are, and the impact all this has on folks right here at home. It's like we've been paddling a canoe through some pretty rough rapids, dodging rocks and trying to keep our balance. The question now is, what's around the next bend? The decisions made in Washington and Beijing definitely have a way of trickling down, affecting everything from the price of gas at the pumps to the jobs available in our communities. It's a bit like watching a hockey game. You might be cheering for your favorite team, but you're also affected by the penalties and the power plays that are called. Canada's caught in the middle, trying to play its own game while navigating the actions of these bigger players. When you consider the complexities of international trade, it's easy to feel like a puck in a high-stakes hockey game, bounced around with little control. Our economic well-being is intertwined with factors beyond our borders, and the choices we make as a nation need to reflect that reality. It's not just about dollars and cents, it's about the kind of country we want to be. Keeping this in mind, it's clear that Canada's got to be smart about how it plays its cards. We've got to diversify our trade relationships, invest in our own industries, and find ways to compete in a global market that's constantly changing. It's like building a strong foundation for a house. You need to make sure it's solid enough to withstand whatever storms might come your way. Reflecting on this journey so far, it becomes pretty apparent that Canada's future isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we actively shape. We can't control what happens in Washington or Beijing, but we can control how we respond. We can choose to be proactive, to be innovative, and to be resilient. Now, ponder this. What if we thought of Canada as a small but mighty porte-à-jour, navigating the challenging terrain of international relations? We might not be able to move mountains, but we can certainly carry our load with skill, determination, and a healthy dose of Canadian ingenuity. The path forward requires us to embrace our strengths, address our weaknesses, and work together to build a more prosperous and secure future. For all Canadians, the next step is to consider what practical actions we can take to make that vision a reality. So, after all that, where do we land with this whole shebang? It's not really about whether one guy in Washington will block another country in Canada, eh? It's much bigger than that. It's about Canada finding its own footing in a world that's constantly shifting, a world where the old rules don't always apply. It's about us figuring out how to be a strong, independent nation while still being a good neighbor and a reliable partner. Thinking about it, Canada's a bit like that old reliable pickup truck you see driving down a dusty back road. It might not be the flashiest vehicle on the highway, but it's tough, it's dependable, and it always gets the job done. We've got the resources, the skills, and the know-how to navigate these challenges, but we need to be smart about how we use them. The key, really, is for Canadians to stay informed and engaged. It's not enough to just sit back and watch what happens. We need to be active participants in the conversation, demanding that our leaders make decisions that are in the best interests of our country. We need to support Canadian businesses, promote Canadian innovation, and stand up for Canadian values. Consider, for a moment, the power of a community coming together to support each other. Whether it's helping a neighbor shovel their driveway after a big snowstorm or buying local produce at the farmer's market, these small acts of solidarity can make a big difference. In the same way, we can all play a role in shaping Canada's future on the global stage. The true practice begins now, with each of us taking a little more interest in the world around us. It starts with asking questions, seeking out different perspectives, and engaging in respectful dialogue. It means understanding that our actions have consequences, and that the choices we make today will shape the Canada of tomorrow. Ultimately, the story of Canada-US-China relations is a story about resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of the Canadian spirit. It's a story that's still being written, and we all have a chance to contribute to the next chapter. So, let's get to it, eh? Let's build a brighter future for Canada, one Timbit at a time.